Hi, everyone. This is Debbie, and welcome to the Transition Bridge podcast. This is the podcast where we come together each and every week to discover more about the purpose and the power of life's transitions. Well, today's episode is sponsored by Amy Throw. She is a leading consultant and an image coach with Cabby, which is a unique women's collection that is effortless, thoughtfully designed, and helps women move confidently through every season of life. Amy works with women to create style that reconnects them to who they are and who they're becoming. And I've been a fan for years. So if you're also watching my YouTube channel, which is at Debi Ronca Official, you could see the beauty of the collection. Please connect with Amy and browse the connection with the link that you can find in my show notes. Now, to the episode today, and I want to ask you this question. Have you ever thought about how you can show better support to someone who has experienced loss? Well, my guest today, Kelly Edmondson, and she is here to share with us what it looks like to stay present for someone who is in grief, not just in the immediate aftermath, but in the months that follow. Kelly Edmondson is a nurse, a bereaved mother, and a grief counselor who is redefining what compassionate support looks like in times of loss. And as the founder of Timely Presence, a year-long grief support service, she helps grieving families feel remembered through meaningful, heirloom quality gifts that are intentionally delivered on emotionally significant days. And drawing from her clinical background in trauma nursing and her personal journey through loss, Kelly brings a rare blend of emotional intelligence, professional experience, and a lived understanding to the grief space. Her work centers on presence, remembrance, and the belief that no one should navigate the first year after loss alone. Kelly, thank you so much for being here with us today on the Transition Bridge podcast.
Debbie, thank you for the opportunity to meet with your audience about this topic that I think is so relevant, so prevalent, but so misunderstood.
Oh, it is so true, Kelly. When I read your story and what it is that you are doing, it's so unique, so needed. I can just feel the comfort. And so I'm really looking forward to hearing more about how this came about. And before we get there, would you love to share about your beautiful son, Darius?
It is my favorite word in the English language, Darius. So I am so
Mm.
um, am excited to introduce him to your audience.
Yes, please do.
Darius is my oldest child, and I like to say we grew up together. So um,
Oh.
I had Darius at 18, and so he introduced me to womanhood and motherhood. As a young child, he was sick and hospitalized in a pediatric ICU at about 8 months old. And the care he received from the nurses and the physicians there, they took care of him, but they took care of me and his father. We were really in crisis, and
Mhm.
the way they showed up for me, I said, I want to do that with my life. So he's actually the reason I became a nurse, also.
Oh, I
Um,
didn't know that. Okay.
and now he has inspired this. So all my major life transitions have been influenced and really led by my love and relationship with Darius. And so um, my oldest son, personality filled the room before he stepped into it. He was light, class clown, just somebody who lived life from the moment
Mhm.
he lived life. And so he never met a stranger. He had friends in every space that he entered. And he was super determined, which is great as a young adult. A little challenging when you're two, but he was just phenomenal. At 18, he was diagnosed with epilepsy,
Oh my.
and so very difficult age to get a chronic diagnosis of any type.
Yes, true.
but particularly of one that requires medication, routine doctor's visits, interrupts your ability to drive. Very difficult time to get that diagnosis. But like he did with most things in his life, he figured out, he had to take some time to figure that out, and he worked through it and finished college a little later than his peers because of it, but thrived.
Mm.
Became a realtor, had just bought his first home, and was really committed his life to helping first time home buyers realize their dream.
Oh gosh, he was a go-getter.
This was him. He was amazing. And on January 2nd, he had spent the evening with his father, kind of celebrating the new year, and went home to prepare for work the next day, and unfortunately seized in his sleep and never woke up again. And
Oh,
so
Kelly.
we
Mm.
lost him January 3rd of 2023.
Oh
Um,
goodness.
a light extinguished, but I have to tell you, he lived fully until he went to sleep that night. I have, um, in some ways, found peace with the fact that he went to sleep, and so he had a peaceful, although certainly unexpected and way too early, death from this life. But he lived from December 25th, 1994, born on Christmas Day,
Oh,
to January 3rd, 2023. He filled every day with light. And so that was my son.
oh,
That is
he
my
sounds
son.
so amazing. So, and that is the most difficult loss. First of all, a child, but then so unexpected or sudden that your heart, it can't even catch up to that moment. And I just love how you shared how he was the one who inspired you to become a nurse, and he was just this beautiful light in your life. And because of him, you're doing what you're doing now, which is continuing to bring light and love and hope and peace to others who also have walked in your shoes. So thank you for your heart for that so much, Kelly. I thank you.
Thank you.
So I'd love to talk about grief. So I know that you really were ministered to by the nurses in the hospital. You felt very well taken care of. And I know, like us, we all struggle. People often show up in masses, during the first couple weeks after a loss, but then, the world moves on. So why is that 1 year mark and all of those ordinary days in between so critical for a grieving family?
I thought I understood grief, right? I
Yeah.
am a trauma ICU and ER nurse by background. So I have met hundreds of people at the end of life. And what I've grown to know through this process is that wasn't grief. Me looking a mother, a wife, a father in the face to let them know that their loved one had passed on wasn't, those moments weren't grief, they were shock.
Yes. Yes.
And it's very difficult in those immediate moments, um, where you're learning about it, and then we go immediately into the action planning, right? You have to find a funeral home for the body to go to, for your loved one to go to. And then
Hmm.
you have to plan the services, and then the obituary, right? What are they wearing? What are you wearing? There's so many choices in this immediate phase, and they're urgent,
Hmm.
um, that you're moving from task to task. And so all of that is very, um, it's shock. It's shock.
You're kind of going through the motions. You're doing what you have to do because you told like the shock in a way is I guess a gift to keep you in a place that you can do the things that need to be done. But then that goes away, and then you're in this extreme pain. And then I think about the friends who want to come. Sometimes we stumble over what to say, what to do. What worked best for you? What ministered the most to your heart and soul and your husband's?
Yeah, I think that people do go away. They go away quickly. You're busy, busy, busy. People are surrounding you and they go away.
Mhm.
And suddenly you begin to have a taste of what forever looks like without your
Mm.
loved one, right?
Yeah,
And, as a society, we are built on recovery, urgency, right? We move on to the next thing because life moves at a very quick pace.
it does.
And for me, within, and not different from most people, within 4 to 6 weeks, people have gone back to living. Someone else they know now has lost a loved one, or
Mhm.
there's been some mini crisis in their life, right? People move on
Yes.
to the work of living.
Yes. Yes.
And for me, it's really showed up in April. So he died in January. I was off work for months. And in April, I received two things from our funeral home. One was a package that was biohazard container, and it was a little shocking. I'm a nurse. We had just come out of COVID years, and it took me immediately back there.
Yes. Oh my.
Um, we had cremated him and had some art and jewelry made from his ashes. And it
Mm.
was the remains of his ashes that came in this biohazard container. Now, the presentation was cold.
Oh
It,
yeah, it sounds it. Oh.
it was cold. And I thought, interesting. And then days later, I got a letter from the funeral home. And I thought, oh, they must know I'm preparing, I'm going back to work. They're just checking to see how I am. And I opened the letter and it was his autopsy report.
Oh.
And at that moment, I, everybody has moved on. Everyone has moved on, right?
Mhm.
There's not even a note to warn me of what's inside here. I opened this letter and the first words I saw
Oh.
were, were about how much his brain weighed. And that was the moment that I knew everyone had moved on. And so um, my neighbor lost her son or her husband of 50 years around that same time. And I saw the family congregate at her house. And in a week, I saw them all go away. And so she and I gelled on this healing journey together.
Oh.
And that partnership, that presence, that having an ally through the most difficult journey I've ever been on um, was soothing to my soul uh, in a way nothing had been.
I can just imagine because now at this point, your hearts are both broken, but coming together, you can understand each other. You can understand the loss. You can kind of lean on each other. You felt like you were in a community with someone who understood. And sometimes you didn't even have to explain because you were both grieving.
That's right.
Mm.
And then Mother's Day came in May. And I had had so much angst leading up to it
Oh,
because
yes.
it's so commercial. You can't escape it. There's
You
commercials,
can't.
there's banners, right? Mother's
Mhm.
Day is a huge, as it should be. But I did not want to participate in Mother's Day. And I told my husband to tell my children, my other two children, that I was not interested. And my sister called and said, my mother, mommy, and my niece, we're all flying down to spend Mother's Day with you.
Oh, what a gift.
What a gift. And
Oh,
and they came with stories and memories of Darius, and we laughed
oh,
and we loved and we cried and we laughed. And, we just, I wasn't a bereaved mother that weekend. I was Darius's mother, and I got to live in the remembrance of the joy and the love that he brought to our life. And it changed the way I thought. of how we heal people on this journey.
Oh, I love that. It's so true. So many people tend to think we don't want to bring up the person that was lost. However, the one who lost the person wants to talk about that person. They want them to be remembered. And there is joy when someone tells you a really funny story and it just brings back the memory of that person, a good feeling. And I believe that has to be one of the things that we should all not be afraid to do, not be afraid to bring up. Like I had a friend who lost her husband, and whenever we got together, she said, Debbie, you're the only one that ever brings his name up. And I thought, oh, I was sorry to hear that. And I said, I just would bring up memories. Do you remember when he did this? And we'd laugh. And so I love hearing you share that. So it seems like all of the experiences that you had, the shock of getting the letter of the autopsy and everything that just felt so cold, and then the beauty of your mother and your niece and sister coming to be with you, you started to see, okay, we can do grief in a better way that actually brings healing, maybe create some type of community so people don't have to be alone.
Exactly
So,
right.
how did you come up with this idea of timely presence?
So when they came, I thought to myself, when my family came for Mother's Day, I thought about my neighbor. And I thought, how do I recreate this feeling for her? Because I knew that Mike's birthday and their wedding anniversary were imminent. I knew they were coming
Okay.
and so my favorite gift that I received, memorial gift, was a wind chime because I felt like Darius and I could talk. It's interactive. It's a beautiful, harmonious, peaceful sound. And I thought, I'm going to buy her a wind chime for Mike's birthday. And so I bought this wind chime and did this beautiful packaging and I left it anonymously on her porch when I knew she wasn't home.
Oh,
And so the next time I saw her, she said, Kelly, come, I have to show you something. So I went in the house and she said, you won't believe what someone left me for Mike's birthday. And she had climbed up on a ladder. This woman is in her mid 70s. As a nurse, this gave me heartburn,
yeah.
but
Yeah, you're like, what did I do?
she climbed on the ladder and she hung this wind chime and she said, I sat out here all night and Mike talked to me all night.
Oh, I love that. Okay, so guess what I do?
What's that?
I buy wind chimes for
Do you
people. I have done that for years because I often think, what would be the best thing to give? And I think of a wind chime, and I always write in the card, when you hear the music of the wind chime, may it, bring back beautiful memories of your loved one. So as soon as you said that, I was like, yes, it
right?
is. It's something so beautiful
Yes.
about it. Oh, I love that. Oh gosh, that's so beautiful.
She loved it. I saw
Yes.
tears of joy welling up in her eyes, and I said, this is it.
Hmm.
This mattered. Today was going to be difficult. The chime came. It was a remembrance of Mike, and it gave her an opportunity to have an interactive experience, right? And
Yes, yes.
we did it again for their anniversary. I gave her a carved um, memory box to store things with him and his face and a quote on it. And she loved it. And so that was the start of timely presence. This idea that there's an emotional calendar to grief is nonlinear and ongoing. We
Hmm.
know that.
Hmm. Right,
But
right.
research says it's predictably intensified on an emotional calendar. Birthdays, anniversaries, holidays, we know that.
Yes.
And so showing up on those days when no one remembers, right? No one remembers, nobody thinks to call you, not because they don't care. I continue to say this grief support isn't flawed because people don't care. It's flawed because we built it around the wrong moment. everything's front loaded. But
Mm.
the hardest days come later. They come later. And this idea that we can show up as a hug on a day that's difficult and you feel alone and you're remembering with gifts that are full of light and love and remembrance, at just the right moment, um, has been healing for so many people, including me.
Oh, and when you need it the most, because as you shared earlier, you kind of dread that day because you know it's going to be a really tough emotional day. So take me through the process because I really want my audience to hear everything that you're doing now. So you do this for a whole year.
Yeah.
Do you have specific days that are already like pre-programmed, or do you let the person let you know what those significant days would be? How does it work?
It's a great question. So our packages are collections and they're built on the relationship that your gift recipient had with the departed. So our devotion collection is for spouses, for bereaved spouses. And
Okay.
so we show up on the birthday, on the wedding anniversary. We show up during the holiday season. We show up on the 1 year anniversary, and there's a gift that comes first, right after the funeral, right? So we have 5 touch points throughout the year on all these kind of emotionally triggering days. Um, the days change a bit based on the relationship. So for a bereaved parent, they would receive something on Mother's Day and Father's Day, instead of a wedding anniversary. We do a gift for pregnancy, loss, and stillbirth. Very under recognized grief.
Mm,
1 million women miscarry a year. 1 million.
there's a
There's
lot.
a lot. 26,000 stillbirths every year.
26,000. Oh my goodness.
26,000,
What
right?
do you do for a woman who has lost a baby and
Yeah.
whether stillbirth or miscarriage?
Yeah. So we show up just after with a beautiful gift. The feedback I've gotten on this initial gift, it's a sun catcher that allows prisms to dance on the wall, right? It's a tiny reflection of love. We show up on Mother's Day for these women.
Oh,
Right. It's a painful day. It's a
yes.
painful day.
Mhm.
And we show up, and then we show up on either the birthday for a stillbirth or the planned due date for a miscarriage,
Okay. Okay.
because these are emotionally difficult days. And, I've talked to so many women. I just left a conference on perinatal loss, and I was in a room with 6 women who had lost babies,
Oh,
either
goodness.
miscarriage or
Mm.
stillbirth, or,
Mhm.
or several hours after birth. And the repeated theme,
Mm.
is that it's really, people don't remember a baby they never held.
True.
So it's so isolating for them. When you lose a 2 year old or a 3 year old, there's lots of memories and photos, and people are very sympathetic to the loss of a living child. They really are. It's not normal. It's incredibly disruptive, and everyone recognizes that. Perinatal loss
Mhm.
is so under supported. And these women live through a grief. They
Mm.
show up to work in it. They begin planning families in it. Um,
Yeah.
and it has been life changing for many of the women who have received this collection. It's just been life. The validation that their love and their loss was real, I think, has been incredibly special for them.
That is, I lost our second child in my fifth month of pregnancy. Our baby boy died in my womb, and I had to give birth. And I still remember that. Um, but you're right. When something like that happens, it's like the child you never really got to hold or do a little bit of life with. So people don't know how to support you. And so hearing how you will recognize what the due date would have been and do something specific then because that child had so much value. That child was still a life within you and to not be forgotten. But then how, yes, you're just, I can, you're just giving us all ideas to know, understand, oh, we need to step into that loss as well, because it is overlooked, underestimated, and people just move on.
That's right. That's right.
What other type of losses do you do gifts for?
And then we do one that's more general for friends and family, right? So
Okay.
a
Okay.
loss of another loss that's under recognized. It's the loss of a close friend, right?
Oh, that's
You
true.
you think about, um, I have dear friends that are decades long, right? And
Hmm.
their absence for your life is super impactful. And so, we have it's more general and applicable to broader relationships, but they matter.
They
And
matter.
a lot of our messaging that goes out with those is around, the uniqueness of that bond and how it carries on, the loss of a sibling, the loss. So we try to hit everything. Our most popular request right now, there's two. One is a pet collection. So we are,
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
which is, listen, the importance of pets in our lives. The moments pets
Yes.
show up for.
Do you know when my son had a dog, brought her home from college, the dog got very bonded with me, the one who walks and feeds them, you know how that goes. And when she passed away, my son got a paw print, for me to have. And then one of my friends actually took a picture of the dog and put it in a frame and brought over a couple things. And I just was so touched that someone valued enough that I was feeling lost for the pet. I love that you do that too.
So that's not live, but we're in active development on our pet line. And then we have ad requests now to extend beyond 1 year. So what's it look like to show up on the second year anniversary?
Oh,
Um,
goodness. This is a
and-
gift that keeps growing. So
yeah.
let me ask you this then. So, who purchases the gift? Is it another family member, a friend? Is it the one who did the loss, does that for themselves? Like, how does that work?
So the magic of our gifting is that it comes from someone who cares for you. So often a close friend or family member, but we have employers who are stepping in and using this as an extension of their bereavement support.
Oh,
We,
good.
we've had funeral home directors who are using this as an extension of their service.
Oh, that's a great idea. People can sign up right there.
Right. And so, um, you know, the magic is people don't know there's more gifts coming. So the initial gift,
Oh,
right? They don't know
okay.
this.
Oh, I
The
love that.
the initial gift comes when many gifts come, right? And so
Right.
it's appreciated, maybe not unexpected,
Mm-hmm.
but the second gift, the third, the fourth, the fifth,
Oh,
they're unexpected, and the overwhelming response and gratitude for the continued presence has been just a delight to hear about, to get the messages from the gift giver, even the gift givers saying, thank you for helping me help in a way I didn't even know I needed to.
oh,
Um,
goodness.
and
And
so
so does the person who's receiving the gift know who is doing this for them?
they do, they
Okay.
do. They say that. Mhm.
How do you market? Like it sounds like you already have a lot of that because this is such a tender subject. So how
Yeah,
do you market
yeah.
this so people can even find what you do?
So we're very active on social media. It's 2026, so you must be. And so we do a
Yeah, it's
lot
true.
of, yeah, we're very active there. We are in multiple expos and shows. I love the opportunity to do podcasts and share and
Yes.
disseminate our message. And, we are doing outreach. We believe, um, I became a grief counselor after all this happened.
Yes. I was going to ask you about that and how all that works.
Because I wanted to understand it, right? I
Hmm.
knew, I know the physiology of grief as a nurse. I know that. I understand it. It is significant and heavy, and an unresolved grief can have significant biological consequences for us.
Yes.
But I wanted to understand the psychology. And so I started studying and reading, and I thought, this is
Mhm.
so much of it resonated with my own experience that I decided I'm going to do the work to become certified, to become a counselor. And so I've continued my studies of this. This is the science that I'm living in now and understanding grief. And so we've selected the milestone dates and the gifts that align with them, really rooted in the psychology and the study of grief and where it has the most significant impact. So it's been healing for me on the journey, right? I've learned how to
Yes.
heal too. But the ability to be able to pour in and to aid in the healing process in others has been like nursing, right? I spent built a career caring for the body and mind, and now to care for the soul um, has been, it's the way that my son keeps adding light to my life.
It's so beautiful that you actually studied it, took the time so that when you have your sessions with people, you really come from a place. I think they're the best people to meet with, someone who's been in my pain, who can really understand, maybe even ask the question that you haven't even thought to ask yet because you've been there. Can you
Yeah,
share with us? Because I think it's important for people who are still maybe in a grieving process or maybe are pausing in their grief, that unresolved grief, what does it physically do to our bodies?
yeah. I continue to say this. I want to get on a microphone or a megaphone.
Megaphone.
Unresolved grief is a public health crisis. It's a public health crisis.
Mm,
So l- grief can layer, right? And layered grief is a threat. Um, People with unresolved grief have higher rates of cardiovascular issues and problems. So, high blood pressure, um,
mm,
heart disease, which can lead to, heart attacks and strokes and all of these things that have long term effects. It definitely has a mental health component. So, you think of unresolved depression and
mhm,
anxiety can lead to elevated risk for suicidal ideation, elevated risk for substance use disorder and alcohol use,
mm,
isolation, which is really very harmful. And all those things have further sequela, right? The more anxiety and depression that we hold internally, the more susceptible we are to other complications physically, um,
yes.
which then makes us even more depressed, which makes us more vulnerable, right? It's cyclical.
Hmm.
Sleep interruption, which we know affects mental clarity and your ability to show up and function. So, people with unresolved grief have higher rates of absenteeism at work. They are less productive at work. They're more likely to leave their job. Within the first 18 months, people with unresolved grief or grief that wasn't well attended to by their employer have up to a 1.5 times higher risk of leaving the organization, right? So disruption in relationships, in work productivity, in the joy of life, on top of the health consequences. So managing this is really important. And if we don't, when other grief hits our life, because we love to think of grief as the loss of life, but
Mm-hmm.
grief is the loss of a relationship,
Yes.
it's the loss of income, a job, identity, right? Grieving spouses grieve the loss of date night, the loss of physical touch. I mean, there's many things that are embedded in that. And so if you don't start integrating that grief and processing it, they begin to layer on top of one another. And people end up in true crisis from these unresolved issues. And so
Mm.
everyone doesn't need to see a therapist. That's true. Everyone doesn't need to see a
Oh, you
therapist.
don't think so? You don't think you need help in in the grieving if you try to do it on your own or
I think therapy is beautiful, and I did it. I saw a grief counselor. I was very engaged, and I didn't do therapy, but I did do grief counseling, and I thought it was very valuable. But some people have. Everyone has different networks, and people may have people in their families or in their tight network who are skilled in this work. But everyone does need someone. You need someone,
yeah, you can't
and
isolate. Yeah.
a pastor, a close friend, a close family member who you are able to talk about this with, talk
Yes.
about your loved one with, right? Someone who's looking at cues and saying, you're not sleeping, you're not eating.
That's a big one. People don't realize they just don't eat and then they get sick and
I
I
know.
would add too, like there should be no shame
That's right.
in saying that I'm going to go for counseling
That's
for
right.
my
That's
grief.
right.
I think that takes courage. It's probably one of the strongest things that you could do for yourself.
That's right.
And especially if you are the caretaker in the home, like that, you need to get well, strong
Right.
again so you can continue in life. Let me ask you, because I know you are going to be launching something in the summer and you're going to be moving towards the corporate world. What is it that the corporate world is missing, doesn't see, or just turns away from when someone like an employee experiences a loss?
Yeah.
And what does the corporate world need to do to step in and do it better?
Yeah. I've talked to so many people. They say they come back to work and they're like a leper, right?
Oh, yeah, everybody backs up.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
People don't mention it. People don't at all acknowledge the fact that you've been gone on X amount of time to manage this loss, right? They don't
Mm.
ask you about your what's Thanksgiving what's Thanksgiving going to be like for you this year? It
Oh,
doesn't even come up. And you're expected to come back to work today like you were prior to the leave,
yeah,
right?
the same person, but this person is obviously impacted. And
That's
yeah.
right. And so, my goal is really to and teach leaders and organizations about a three-piece kind of framework, three pillars that I think are very important. We call it the
Mhm.
presence framework, but it's based on three pillars. They're three R's, and I think they're very easy to remember. And I think it's good for corporations, but I think it's good for individuals who want to support someone they love too.
Okay.
And the first is regulate, right? So regulate yourself,
Mm-hmm.
right? So when you come in and you
It's
want to
good.
acknowledge it, you've got to make sure that your tone is ready. In more personal relationships, that you're not too emotional to engage in the conversation, and pause and be intentional with the words that you're going to use. Acknowledge the loss, acknowledge it respectfully, but regulate yourself first before you engage in the conversation.
Okay.
Number two is going to be respond. Do something. Do something. Something can be a text on a Saturday that says, I'm just thinking of you. Respond can be sending dinner on a Thursday night because I just wanted to do something to help, or it can be offering to come and do laundry. Do something and don't make it the burden of the bereaved to tell you what they need.
Mm.
Well-intended people all the time say, what do you need? I don't know what I need is my son back, right? And
Right.
so I can't have just show up. Do something. Do something.
I agree.
Our last R is remain. Do something and do it more than once.
Mm.
Do it at
That's
month
good.
3. Do it during Thanksgiving. Do it as you enter a new year. People don't think about this. Sometimes it's really tough, and it's really tough for people who've lost a spouse or a child. When the calendar turns, I'm entering a new year. I'm leaving my person behind in the year
Mhm.
that's passed. It's a really tough, tricky time for people, right? So keep showing up in small ways. A text is okay. A card in the mail's great. A phone call's, but let them know that you know life's different for them. That this Christmas looks different than last Christmas. It's okay
It's
to
okay.
just acknowledge and continue on the support. So those are 3 R's. If we could build grief support around that, we would be light years ahead of where we are right now.
Well, yeah, that's just so full of life because what we have now is silence, and people don't, they show up just in the beginning or they don't show up at all. Or some people think, oh, there's already so many people doing something. And then they pull back. And gosh, it's almost like we need a manual. We need, okay, you should do this, you should do that. And I love that you say remain. um, because doing it one time is good. I mean, if it's a good friend, we do need to remain, and we shouldn't worry about how they're going to feel if we show up. Sometimes people just need you to show up and not even talk, just to know that you cared enough to come to my house, just enough to know that you cared to say, come take a walk. I have a dear friend, she lost her son when he was 18, and she had another friend. I didn't know her at the time. And every night they walked. And she said that was such therapy for me because every night I could just walk and I could talk, I could cry, and I just had someone with me. Every night we just walked. And that meant the world to her. I know when my father passed away, I'm down here in Texas, the rest is back up in the Philadelphia area. My one brother would go every Sunday and take my mother to church for a whole year so she didn't have to sit by herself.
Right.
And I thought, gosh, that was so thoughtful. And I love what you are doing because you're helping us to do something that actually brings life to another person. And so I'm going to ask this question, and I don't know the answer, but if there's someone who's maybe in their second or third year of grief and never had this beautiful gift, is it too late to give it to them?
It's never too late.
Okay.
I will never um, get tired of remembrance of Darius. That's my son. That's my son, right? He
Hmm.
is, he mattered. He matters. Um, he's as much a part of my future as he has been a part of my past. How
Yes.
he influences me just looks different. But the
Hmm.
fact that he influences me will never change. The love will never change. And you said it earlier, people are afraid that they're afraid to remind you. There's not a day I cannot forget that my son is dead. That is my reality.
Mm.
My greatest fear is the world forgets him. That's my greatest fear. And as long as I'm alive, I'll do all I can to keep his name ringing. So, any reinforcement that I can get that um, the world wants to show up around him, it's a good day for me. It's a good
Well, I
day
know
for me.
your face just lit up at the beginning of the podcast when you talked about your beautiful son, Darius. And he's someone that I could, in spite of, he just grabbed the gusto of life and always showed up. And I see him in you because you're still grabbing the gusto in life and you're bringing life to others. So your son is living through you, Kelly.
I appreciate that, and he's certainly helping to guide me.
Oh, of course, he will always be with you.
That's
And
it's
so
funny how
I'm,
the roles change, aren't they?
yes, it's so true. Oh my God. I have so enjoyed this conversation. I love what you are doing. So I'm going to keep this in mind for, you know, you know, the next time I know of someone who experiences loss. What a gift. What a gift to give to someone. And I'm even thinking of someone now who may be in their third year, of the loss of their husband and is still grieving and working it out. But I would think this may mean so much to her just to know that someone's still thinking of her husband as she processes. And so, in closing, Kelly, I'm just thinking of so many people I know who are in loss right now and they're really struggling, and it's just heartbreaking. What word of encouragement would you like to share in our final time together?
Grief isn't weakness.
Mm.
It really is a reflection of the depth of love that you had with, the person that you lost. And so, day by day, recovery is intentional. It's intentional, and what that it doesn't mean that I'm going to say tomorrow I'm going to be okay, but really creating small incremental targets for how you achieve. So those that are really in acute grief, I used to do things like say, I'm going to get the mail tomorrow,
Mm.
and when I go outside, I am going to feel the sun and look for butterflies. Right, whatever your thing is.
Right.
And then I begin going, I'm going to go in the grass. I'm going to go with no shoes and feel grass and finding a way to get grounded. For me, nature's healing. It's healing.
Yes. It's so
Fresh
good.
sun, fresh air, grass, the sound of water. To me, that brings healing and peace. Whatever that thing in your life was that brought you peace before, find a way to slowly begin incorporating that into your healing journey. I say the best way to heal is to find your way back to you. You'll never be the old you, right? You'll never be and you don't want to. This loss has impacted you, and we can find ways to make that impact a positive influence on those that are surround you. But finding your way back to you means taking the time to think about what was important to you before and how do you slowly reintegrate that into your life and find moments of joy that are attached to that. And the second big thing, the last thing I'll say is reframing rituals matter. And so
Mm.
people often have a lot of pain wrapped into things that they did with their loved one or they associated with their loved one. And so Christmas is my son's birthday. And it's a time of year that everyone in the world is celebrating. Um, and it's hard. It's hard for us.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
what we decided to do is he always wanted to be a world traveler and he didn't get to live to do that. So we take a holiday for the holiday. We take a
Mm.
vacation and we take his ashes and we spread them a little bit and we are going to make sure that he travels the world.
Oh.
So our Christmas is spent we've reframed it into what we're doing to help. Darius accomplish through us what he was unable to do. And that has reframed the entire season for us. And so that can be, if your person died on the 4th of the month and the 4th's painful, lighting a candle, letting off balloons, having their favorite meal that night in their remembrance and honor, figuring out what are triggers for you and how you recreate that, reframe it to be rooted in remembrance and love
Mhm.
instead of loss. Um, it's a beautiful way to begin moving forward in the healing journey.
Such beautiful ideas and thoughts that you gave for us. That is so, I love the fun, having a meal that your loved one used to enjoy and how you reframed Christmas. That is so powerful, so beautiful. And you know that you're with your son
That's right.
every single Christmas
That's right.
on his birthday. That is so beautiful. Well, I know all of you will want to be reaching out to Kelly. I will have all of her contact information in my show notes. Kelly, what is the best way for anyone to connect with you?
Yes. So timely present, thetimelypresence.com is our website. And we've got a contact form on there. It sends us an immediate email. And so it's the best way. Or LinkedIn. I am Kelly Edmondson on LinkedIn. And so also a great way to stay connected. And also here are messages of grief and hope and recovery, purpose through pain.
That's perfect. That's perfect. Well, again, I just want to highly recommend that you reach out to Kelly. I just think what she has created through her own loss is so beautiful. It's so life-giving, and the world needs what Kelly you have created. So I am so thankful for you being here today. I've learned so much about grief and how I can do it better for others.
Thank you for your work and how you are showing up for people through transitions. It's important, and I appreciate this opportunity.
You're welcome, Kelly. And hey, to my transition tribe, thank you again for coming each and every week where we're discovering more about transitions. And the transition of loss is the most difficult. Don't go through it alone. If you find yourself isolating, find a community, connect with someone who also has walked through grief. Connect with Kelly. Connect with a program, but don't stay in your grief. Don't allow that unresolved grief to physically, emotionally keep affecting you because you want to, in the end, honor your loved one's life. So you should live to the fullest as you honor the life of the one that you loved and lost, because I think that's a great way to remember those that are no longer with us. And so just keep the faith, keep putting one foot in front of the other, and just believe there is still life here for you. You still have a story that needs to be written and shared with others.